Hello everyone, and welcome to COMM 101 Online. It's me, Sam, here to teach you Chapter 12, Part 2, Persuasive Speaking. Let's get started. So just like our section on informative speaking, we're going to be doing the same thing but with persuasive speaking. So what we're going to be doing is talking about how to be persuasive, how to put together a speech, and all of that jazz. So starting with persuading. What is it? What's it all about? What's she like? Well, there's a few ways you can go about it. So what's included in persuasion? Well, there are a few different aspects. There are certain definitions that we can go through, like you can see on the PowerPoint here, about how persuasion is usually about seeking to alter attitudes, beliefs, ideas. Unlike informative speaking, where you're just there to inform. Persuasive has an intent behind it, and it's gonna wanna change something, either individually, socially, publicly. It makes a change, or is at least advocating. Like how we talked about the calls to action, that is where persuasion comes in. You are calling for the audience that you are speaking to make a change, to do something. Persuasion comes verbally and non-verbally, just like everything else, how everything is being communicated all the time. Non-verbal communication can still be persuasive. And we can see that in several different ways. Once again, individually, socially, publicly, whatever. The ultimate goal of persuasive speaking is to reinforce existing beliefs, change existing beliefs, or lead to a new belief. Something is wanting to change. Someone wants something to change, so they're advocating for it. They are trying to provide information that will make you believe the same thing, or provide you information that will give you a reason to believe whatever the speaker is believing as well. So persuasion's really important. It's how we create change. It's how we advocate for things that are important to us and how we can advocate for ourselves. There are several different routes you can take when creating your persuasive speech, depending on what you're trying to change or what you're trying to advocate for. One of the first ones we're going to talk about is that of adoption. So adoption is going to be taking something that the speaker is saying or trying to persuade someone into continuing to do something, to start doing something, or to stop doing something. And this is broken up in three ways. First, we have discontinuance. So you should stop something, and this is why. You always want to provide reasoning. So unlike informative speeches where you don't want to be persuasive, you're just wanting to be informative, with persuasive speaking, you need to be informative as well. You need to provide the evidence, the reasoning, the explanations as to why someone should change.
And then we have deterrence. So you should avoid something, and this is why. Deterrence can be really interesting because it's not necessarily saying you should stop or start something right away. It's you should avoid doing something or maybe lessen doing something. And then we have continuance. So you should start doing something or continue doing something, and this is why. And the theme here is providing evidence. A lot of the times when we're writing persuasive speeches, we think just the way we're talking is going to be persuasive. Like, I believe something and I'm talking about it, so you should believe it too. However, that's not the case. To be persuasive, you always have to provide reasoning.
You need to provide the evidence as to why someone should listen to you and be persuaded by what you're saying. With persuasive speaking, you are taking a stance. A lot of bias can show up here because you are arguing something that you believe and that you believe other people should agree with. So when we're talking about persuasive speaking, there are a few different paths you can take depending on what you're wanting to change or advocate for. The first is going to be that of questions of fact. So anything about the truth or falsity of an assertion. A few examples of these are Barack Obama was born in the United States. You could take this topic and then try to persuade your audience that he was born in the United States. Persuasion is often tied to values and belief systems and items like that. So when we talk about questions of value, you're going to be discussing something that is a judgment claim about something that is good or bad, right or wrong, according to you. Then you would take the time to explain to your audience why you have that viewpoint and why you think they should also have that viewpoint. So there are a few examples here. So one, online dating is immoral. So you would talk about the morality of online dating and tying that to persuasion by trying to make your audience agree that it is also immoral. and you would provide facts that would prove your claim.
And then we have my favorite, questions of policy. So these are a statement about the nature of a problem and the solution that should be implemented. This usually focuses on legislator, bills, and policies, and you can come in and do your research on that policy, and then you can decide whether or not you think this should be put into place, if it needs to be altered a little bit, if something needs to end. Questions of policy are really fun speeches to do because there is a lot of information out there for you to access. You're going to be able to find facts, you're going to be able to find sources, and you're going to be able to support your claims. So we have a few examples here of questions of policy. So the first one being the United States should end capital punishment. So this is something that is implemented in the United States. There's a lot of information on this, and then you can take a stance on whether or not they should end capital punishment and provide reasoning and a call to action to how your audience can help end capital punishment. Another example is human cloning for organ donations should be legal. So this isn't something that is implemented yet, but there has been some research and some advocacy for this being implemented. So you can talk about the benefits that would come from this topic and talk about how enacting policy to allow human cloning for organ donations would be beneficial, and this is why, and this is what you can do to make this happen.
These are the 3 modes of persuasion. So how you're going to appeal to your audience. And this is why I talk about facial expressions and vocal variety so much, especially for persuasive speaking. This really comes into play. So when we have ethos, which is the appeal to credibility. So are you credible? So you can show your credibility in several ways. Maybe you worked with an organization that works with the topic that you chose. Maybe you have done extensive research on it before. Maybe you've studied it before. Maybe it's the field you want to go into. So showing that you have credibility is going to be really important to build that trust between your audience. Then you have the appeal of logic. Have you done your research? Are you providing facts and sources, or are you just kind of hoping that your audience believes what you're saying? You need to have sources and citations with persuasive speaking. You need to have facts. You need to have empirical evidence that can prove your point. Appeals to logic is really important in general, but it's really important right now in this political climate and everything that we're dealing with. We need to be able to fact check you. We need to be able to see that you put the work in, and we need to see that this is something that has been studied from other people as well. Then you have the appeal of emotion, pathos. Persuasive speeches, especially with ones of morality and value, are going to really benefit from facial expressions, pauses, vocal variety to show the impact of something. So yes, the way you write your speech and the text and the sources and the citations that you use are all very essential. How you present that information is also going to be what is persuasive. So when you're researching your topic and collecting information, you should really be thinking about how the information you're collecting is going to be used to be persuasive. So what you want to do is make sure that your research is very thorough. Start from the beginning. Find things that have changed. What's changed? How has it changed? What did it do? So what that does is it creates a baseline of why you're talking about this subject. If you bring up information about how something has been implemented before, but maybe it didn't work, but you are coming in with a different idea or a different proposal, that shows initiative. Your research should clarify and support your views. So what you're gonna need are, just like how we talked about looking for sources before, you're going to want to find information that is relevant to your topic, first of all. Then you're gonna wanna find sources that are timely. So ones, you can always use historical sources, absolutely, but you definitely wanna find sources that are contemporary, something within the last few years. So we can see that this is something that is relevant to today. So you also want to make note of research that contradicts views. Now this can be a really interesting aspect. So if you have a whole bunch of information about a group or someone who disagrees with what you're advocating for, you can basically argue it. You can say, this person disagrees with this. This is why. However, my proposal, or what I am asking for, or what I'm advocating for, is this, and I believe could solve this person's problem with this issue. So you can provide even more credibility by looking at how people are disagreeing with the cause or issue you're talking about, and then providing even more of a solution. And always, with any speaking, you're gonna wanna anticipate people who disagree with you. That's gonna happen. Not everyone's going to agree, and that's okay. What matters is that you did your best, you did your due diligence in doing research, providing facts, providing credibility, and presenting it in a way that was meaningful. So for organizing your speech, there are a few things that you're going to need to do before you start writing. This is going to be like when you're deciding your topic and before you start writing your outline. So first, you need to decide, what side are you on? Are you for something? Are you against something? Are you asking for change? You need to pick something. Pick a side and make it clear, especially to yourself. Always remember what side you're on. You need to decide what the best way to organize your speech is. So further organization of your speech is going to be how your main points are structured. So in our informative speeches, there was a few different ways we could do things. A lot of you did background, or the impact, or the before or after, or the past and present. So just like that, persuasive speaking has its own set of ways to organize a speech. So while you had some freedom for your informative speech, when it comes to your persuasive speech, I'm going to be a little bit more in the lines. And how do you go about that, you might ask? Well, I'm so glad you did, for I have answers in a really cool PowerPoint. So first, an example. An example of this is going to be too many dogs are not being spayed and neutered. Well, I would say that is a problem, wouldn't you? So, that's our main point one. We're going to discuss the problem. Too many dogs are not being spayed and neutered. Why is that a problem? Maybe there's too many strays. Maybe the Humane Society and shelters are just overflowing. Maybe there's breeding issues. Now those are problems with dogs not being spayed or neutered. So you'd have your main point one, your problem. Too many dogs are not being spayed and neutered. Subpoint A would be a problem that stems from that. Dog shelters overflowing. Second problem under that is they're being euthanized. So let's build this speech. Main point one, problem. So too many dogs are getting busy. Therefore, dog shelters are being overwhelmed and don't have enough room to house all of them because they're not being spayed and neutered. So we've tied our subpoint A to our main point one. Main point one, problem. Too many dogs are not being spayed and neutered leads to dog shelters being overwhelmed and overflowing. So what's subpoint B? Maybe what we're seeing is there's going to be more euthanization of dogs. That is a problem that is tied to main point one, the problem, not enough dogs are being spayed and neutered. So with that, we have provided our evidence. We provide statistics and sources, and it is awesome. And now we're gonna go to our solution. So what is a solution for this problem? Well, what if all dogs were spayed and neutered? What would that do? Would that solve our issues from our main point one? Would it solve our problem of too many dogs are not being spayed and neutered by spaying and neutering? Yes. Would that solve the subpoint A of dog shelters being overwhelmed? Yes, that is a solution to this problem. And would it solve the problem of dogs being euthanized? Yes, most likely. You would then connect these solutions and provide specific examples of how they solve the problem. Being persuasive has a lot of parts to it. It's not just how you write the speech. It's not just the topic. It's also how you present the information. So when you're picking your topic, what you're going to do is find something that interests you, something that you can find information on, and something that you think you can provide emotion and pathos with. Now, I want you to take this as a way that audiences are going to see your persuasive speech. So when you're building it, you can see these things and be like, okay, am I matching those? Does my speech do this? Is my audience going to be persuaded? So one is purpose should be stated very clearly. When you're talking about your problem, you should have some background information on there. Make the problem very clear. People shouldn't be wondering what you're discussing for too long. You can add a little bit of a dramatic flair in your intro and maybe like have a grand reveal, but what your topic is should not be a mystery. All right, so clear topic, clear problem. Check. Your speech should include a goal, so something that you're trying to reach that's going to be really tied into your call to action. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to change something, keep something, implement something, stop something? That should be very clear. Your supporting material should appeal to your audience. So appealing to their logic, appealing to your credibility, and appealing to emotion. All right? You need to have those appeals in your speech so your audience can be persuaded. That is how we persuade people, is by tapping in to people's want to believe someone. And how do we do that? By providing emotion, by providing facts, by being credible. All right, so that was chapter 12, part 2, Persuasive Speaking. Now is the time to start creating a list of persuasive speech topics that you would be interested in making a speech on. Make sure you go to the discussion board and complete the assignment. It's really short, super simple. It's just so I can give you participation points. And if you have any questions, please email me. I am here to support you. I want to make sure that this is a smooth transition and you are still getting the education that you are paying for. And also, I want to teach. I made all these cool PowerPoints and found all these memes. I'm not going to let them go to waste. I'm still going to be sending out announcements and reminders of when assignments are due. One of our next assignments that's going to be due is your persuasive outline. It's going to be just like your informative outline, all right? You download the provided outline from the assignments tab and you fill it out. Do not delete the labels. Please, just leave the labels, all right? I hope you are doing well. Please let me know if you need anything. And remember, communication is happening all the time and always has meaning.